Good evening, friends. Welcome to the daily answer writing practice. So today I have selected an editorial from the Indian Express on anti-defection. So let us see the editorial. We'll analyze the editorial and then we will frame a question and we are going to write a model answer in front of you. Okay, so let us begin. So this is the editorial we have. This is the editorial, slipping through the cracks. Slipping through the cracks. Okay, the crux of this editorial is about what are the defects of anti-defection law. Anti-defection law, that is the basically the essence of this editorial. So we will try to analyze the editorial and we will try to answer the question. We'll try to answer the question. So before we analyze this editorial, let me give you the background in which this anti-defection law was legislated by the parliament. What happened in the 1960s, in the late 1960s, okay, there started a trend in Indian politics of defection. A trend of defection started and it became very common practice for legislators, particularly the member of legislative assemblies in the states, to defect from the party on the ticket of which they were elected by the people. There was a famous instance in the year 1967 in the Haryana Assembly where a member defected from his political party to two other political parties in one day itself. And this phrase or this phenomenon of changing parties basically came to be known as Aya Ram Gaya Ram. Aya Ram Gaya Ram. So this led to what? This led to political instability. This led to what? It led to political instability. Further, these kinds of defections play a very bad impact. It has a very bad impact in the politics because it is against the morality and integrity in politics. So in order to bring morality in politics and in order to bring political stability, what happened? In the year 1985, the parliament amended the constitution and it inserted 10th schedule. It inserted 10th schedule, which this editorial is about. This 10th schedule. This editorial is about 10th schedule. So I have given you the background of the editorial. I have given you the background of the editorial because it is very important. So as per the author of this editorial, who is Mr. Kapil Shribal, as per the author of this editorial, okay, there are some problems. There are some problems in this anti-defection law. And because of these problems, the intent of the anti-defection law has not been met. What is the intent of the anti-defection law? Intent of the anti-defection law was to bring political stability and morality in Indian politics. So what has happened? See, in the year 1985, what they brought this law, and under that law, any member who defected from his political party will lose his membership, or any member who is involved in anti-party activities, he can also be thrown away from the political party and he will lose his membership. Okay, but this act had a provision where the split was allowed. What is the split? it is very important to note this term split. What was the split? It was a system where if 1/3 of the member of the political party decide to change the political party, if they decide to change the political party and join some other political party, that was allowed. That was allowed. So what happened? This law became very ineffective because 1/3 of the members were leaving the party and joining some other party. Okay, and this the objective of the act was not met. So this law was amended, and the year 2003, in the year 2003, by the 91st amendment, 2003, okay, this 1/3 provision was changed to 2/3 provision. 2/3. Now 2/3 members of the political party have to change the political party or merge with another political party, and that was called merger. That was called merger. So split was changed into merger from 1/3 to 2/3. Here 1/3 members could leave the party and they will not face basically disqualification under the 10th schedule, under the anti-defection law. After the 2003 amendment, now 2/3 of the members can leave the party and form another party or merge with some other party, and this is called merger. So in effect, the author says that what happened, the retail defections gave way to what? Gave way to what? Wholesome or wholesale defections. Okay, retail means what? Previously one members, 2 members, 5 members could not defect. Now they were defecting in basically making groups and dividing the party, and they were merging with some other party. Okay, particularly this problem was a very big problem in small assemblies. In small assemblies, okay, what happens is that since the assembly is very small, the number of members are very small, and number of members needed to form a party is very small. So defections are more prevalent in these assemblies. For example, Goa, for example, Northeast, Arunachal Pradesh, and some other states, these defections are more prevalent in small assemblies. Okay, that is one problem. That is one problem. Another problem is that what happens is that, according to the author, what happens is that at present there is no time. At present there is no time bound for basically deciding the cases of anti-defection. See, under this anti-defection law, under this 10th schedule, it is the Speaker of the House who is the authority to decide on disqualification of members. But what happens is that many a times it has been observed that speakers take undue time in deciding these cases, and sometimes what happens, it takes 4 years to decide. And this has happened in recent Goa assembly, where this new election is going to happen, and there was a pending case of defection. There was a pending case of defection, and that is why this article has been written on that context, that there is, since there is no time bound, and many a times what happens, the speakers act in a partition manner. Speakers act in partition manner. They don't decide on defections. They don't decide on defections. Okay, that is the next point this editorial makes. The third point which the editorial makes, or the third drawback of the present act, is that this act still allows what? If you resign from the party, okay, then you can again, you lose the membership. Suppose you resign, and will you be disqualified or not, first of all? And under this law, if you are disqualified, then what happens? Again, you can fight election, and you can win election, and you can join some other political party, win on the ticket of some other political party, and you can become the minister. You can become the minister. So generally what happens, why someone leaves the political party? Because of the lure of ministerial birth. Because of the lure of ministerial birth. So at present, the law does not bar. It only disqualifies the member from the legislative assembly, and he cannot become the minister till either the term of the assembly, or he is re-elected. So what happens? The member, what he does is that he loses the membership, then he fights on the ticket of some other party, and then he is elected, and then he is made the minister. So at present, the law does not bar him from getting re-elected and getting the ministerialship. Okay, that is the point. So that is the lure. Always there is a lure of power, lure of ministerial birth. That is why these defections are still happening. Even the law in the last 30 years, there has been a law to basically deter these MLAs and MPs to defect, but still defections are happening because of these three loopholes. Because of these three loopholes. On the other hand, what has this law done to the lawmaking in India? According to the study done by the PRS, it says that on one hand, this law has failed to check defections. On one hand, this law has completely failed to check defections, because today what is happening? Wholesale defections are happening. Wholesale defections are happening. It has completely failed to deter the MLAs from defecting or MPs from defecting from their party to some other party. On the other hand, what has happened, since this law prohibits the MLAs and the MPs to go against the party whip, So what has happened? The independent thinking of the members of the parliament and the members of the legislative assembly has gone down, and that has impacted the quality of debates which happen in the parliament. That impacts what? Quality of debate, quality of lawmaking in the parliament. So on one hand, it has failed to curb the defections. On the other hand, it has impacted the independence of individual members. It has impacted the quality of debate, the quality of discussions in the parliament, because the member is bound to follow the party whip. The member is bound to follow the party whip. So overall quality of lawmaking, overall contribution of the individual MP has decreased. And what has happened? The party has become more powerful. Central leadership of the party has become more powerful. Individual MPs and MLAs have become very vulnerable. So on one hand, the intended objective has not been achieved, and on the other hand, it has led to some other negative fallouts. So what Mr. Kapil Sibal has suggestions to improve this law. Is first suggestion he makes is that if someone defects and he is disqualified under the 10th schedule, then he must be barred from fighting elections for 5 years, and he must be barred for taking up ministerial work for at least 5 years. That is one suggestion he makes. The second suggestion what he makes is that what we can do is we can have a time bound. For the Speaker of the House to decide these cases, because under this 10th schedule, Speaker is the final deciding authority. So there must be a time bound. 90 days must be that time bound. Under 90 days, he has to decide on the cases of disqualification. Third, this anti-defection law has highlighted one of the important features of the Indian parliamentary democracy, that is what? The role of speakers. See, although Indian parliamentary system has been inspired from the British parliamentary system, but in India we do not follow the conventions which is followed in the British parliament, which is once a speaker, always a speaker. In the British parliament, once the speaker is elected by the House, the speaker leaves the party membership. Okay, so that ensures the independence of the speaker. However, in India, this convention is not followed. This practice is not followed. So many a times there are doubts regarding speakers' basically independence, speaker's objectivity, speaker's neutrality, because he still remains the party member. Therefore, what we need to do, we need to adopt the parliamentary convention where the speaker leaves the party from which he has been elected. Therefore, it will improve the independence of the speaker. Here I would also like to make one more suggestion, is that there must be some independent tribunal, where this cases can be appealed. The decision of the speaker can be appealed. At present, it goes to the High Court or the Supreme Court, and a lot of delay happens. So what we can do, we can form an independent tribunal. In the end, my suggestion is that, see, law cannot solve the problem of morality in politics. I repeat myself, law cannot solve the problem of morality in politics. And these issues must be solved at the level of electorate and at the level of political parties. Political parties should themselves discourage these kinds of members who defect from their own political parties and join some other political parties for the lure of power and position and money. Okay, that is the first thing. And second, the electorate should punish such members who defect from their political parties. Because in the end, if the politics is not based on principles, then that politics leads to corruption in public life. Am I clear? So I hope that this discussion was useful as far as this editorial is concerned. Now I will try to frame a question from this editorial, and I would like to answer. In front of you. So let me frame a question in front of you, and let us try. We all try to answer this question. You can also try. Let us try to answer. So the question is, has anti-defection law failed? Suggest measures to improve or reform. Okay, this is a brief question I have framed. Okay, let us try to answer it. What you can do is, you can start with the introduction of the context. Context is very important. You can start with the recent context of the Goa Assembly, or you can also start with this so many examples in the past, like the Karnataka Assembly issue, the Arunachal Pradesh issue, the Manipur issue. There are many issues which in the last couple of years this anti-defection issue has happened. So you can start with the context, and then what you can do, context, you can start with the context. Then you can talk about the 52nd Amendment 1985, which introduced the 10th schedule, and you can talk about the provisions. Of disqualification, okay, which are there in that 10th schedule. Then you can write, it's saying, has it failed? So you have to write what was the objective. You can write that the objective of anti-defection law was to bring political stability by checking defections. However, the history of last 30 years indicates that this law has completely failed to check defections. You can give examples of various instances where there has been defections and the party or the government fell. You can give example of Madhya Pradesh. You can give n number of examples here. You can give. Then you have to talk What are the defects, present defects of the law? Present defects of the law. The first you can give about the time bound. It is no time bound. Second, you have to give about the wholesale defection allowed, wholesale defections allowed, which is basically the mergers allowed. That is the second drawback. The third, still the member is allowed to contest election and become minister. Fourth, independence of speaker is sometimes jeopardized. Therefore, the law completely fails to check defections. Then you can change the paragraph and you can write, on the other hand, there are few unintended consequences of this law. What is that? Independence of elected members has reduced. Second, the quality of debates have fallen. Diversity of opinion has fallen. The quality of lawmaking has fallen. Then you come out with suggestions. Suggestions, what we need to do. Suggestions. Just 1 second. Suggestions. What suggestions you have to make? First, about the independence of speaker. Here we can adopt British practice of speaker resigning from the party. Second, ban on elections for disqualified members for 5 years. Third, time bound decision of cases by the speaker. Okay, sir. And last suggestion is that the party whip should only be applicable during no confidence motion and members must be free to voice their opinion on the floor of the voice their opinion under normal circumstances. Then you will write concluding remark. To sum up, matters of political morality can't be solved by law. What will ultimately work is consciousness among political parties and voters against such immoral practice. So I hope that this discussion and this model answer has helped you to get an insight into this issue of anti-defection. See, any question which comes in the polity, we have to mention the constitutional provisions. We can also mention the Supreme Court cases. Here you can mention Supreme Court cases. In the Karnataka Assembly case, in the Manipur case, you can talk about that, where Supreme Court has said that the time limit must be there. Some time limit must be there. Then you have to mention some, basically the reports. You can talk about the National Commission to Review the Working of Constitution has also suggested that anti-defection law should not be applied in all the cases. It should be only applied in no confidence motion. So you can mention some committees, and in the end you can give a good conclusion. So I hope if this session was useful to you, and if it has been useful to you, please like the like button, please subscribe, and please share with your friends. See, we are doing this exercise daily in order to bring a habit in you. Okay, once you develop the habit of writing, and once you write like I have been explaining for the past 1 week, and if you do this over a period of like 1 month, 2 months, okay, then writing will come effortlessly. You see how I am writing effortlessly. The same way you can also write effortlessly, but you have to practice. Okay, Rome was not built in a day, and no topper of the UPSC examination became the topper in a day. It will take time, but if our approach is right, if we are committed, if we are dedicated, then my friends, we will be able to achieve our goal. Okay, thank you my friends. Good night.